Good afternoon, Klaus. It's nice to see you. Or not. Where have you gone?
Voila.
Hi.
Good afternoon, Catherine.
How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. See, I put a smile on your face just by disappearing. Isn't
You
that a
did.
nice
I
effect
mean,
to have on someone?
yeah, absolutely. It worked. The simple things are the best. So I first met you, Klaus, when you were wearing a particularly striking Batman suit and taking to the stage at Arrival in Berlin. Oh, he's disappearing again.
It's
I
just,
I love that
we have visual, right? Let's
it's
just,
just hanging up for any occasion, ready to go. I love that. So now you've whisked me back to Arrival Berlin earlier this year when you were the keynote speaker talking about innovation. So for those who haven't met you before and don't know kind of why you had the whole audience just absolutely captivated, tell us what you do and why.
so first off, thank you for those kind words, and I'll happily pretend I had the whole audience captivated.
Oh,
Whether it
you
was true
definitely
or
did.
not, we don't know. So we can at least say that. I think one of the reasons and one of the things I do is that I look at things a little bit differently, right? Innovation is just a fancy word for change.
Yeah.
And one of the problems is we as humans, especially in a business sense, we know we need innovation. We just don't like change. And then the smart person will say, but didn't you just say it was the same? And I say, yes, that's where it gets tricky. And part of what I do is to make things simple
Yeah.
for people, put them in a kind of a language and a framing that is so simple that it is unavoidable. And when I do talks, I do a lot of keynotes around the world. Some of the things I talk about are kind of basic pillars of successful innovation culture, because we tend to, in my experience, when we talk about innovation on a broad scale, it tends to be technological innovation.
Yeah.
Now, that's true, right? It's nice that we don't just have sticks and stones and we can heat our food and refrigerators are nice. And I even like the internet. But there's so much innovation that is not technological innovation, but cultural innovation, changes in how we work, how we think, how we talk, how we human. And often when we talk innovation on kind of a broad scale, that part tends to be overlooked. It's like, oh, we have this new software and it'll solve all our problems. But the reality is often it breaks down because
Mm.
Carl from accounting didn't want to use it because he and Tom have their own private system they set up 8 years ago using Facebook messages in a closed group that nobody has the passwords to anymore because Jeremy quit. So we're not going to use the new system, right? Nobody says that when you are pitching your new innovative software thing. Nobody says, but what about Carl and Tom and Jeremy?
Mm.
And a lot of my work is dealing with Carl and Tom and Jeremy, dealing with the human side of innovation. And I guess that's why sometimes people get excited.
So, on that human side, why is it that we're so scared when someone says, but what if we did do it differently? Why do people go, oh my God, panic? That absolutely not. We'll stick with what we know. Why are we so scared of change?
Oh, now we get into the deep psychological stuff, but the basic one, and I'm going to piss off some people with this, so sorry in advance to you out there. It's because we're afraid they might be right.
Okay.
So imagine I go to you and say, Catherine, you have this lovely decorated room. It sends out certain vibes. It's beautiful. It's amazing. It's creative. It's you. It also costs you business, right? That I don't think it does,
Mm.
but let's just for the sake of argument say it costs you business. If you change your room setup, you would have a more successful close rate on your clients. Then the rational point of view would be to say, okay, how can I test that without it costing me too much?
Yeah.
And can I look into, is that right? And all these sorts of things. But normally we'll rather say no and no and no because I don't want it to be true,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? We stick to our stories, we stick to our truths, and once in a while we change our mind. But usually we change our mind when we're ready to and not before. Facts are nice, right? If we were convinced by facts, nobody would smoke, nobody would
Yeah.
be eat unhealthy foods, we wouldn't treat animals the way we do. There's all sorts of things that we do that are just from any sort of rational metric stupid, but they fit our stories, they fit our worldview. And whenever somebody's suggesting an innovation, even as simple as, hey, how about you change your hair? Or Klaus, how about you stop calling yourself an overpaid rock star consultant, or skip the Batman suit, like even stuff that's simple to change.
Simple, yeah.
Then, oh, we don't want to change it, because the worst thing that can happen, and this happens to us all of our lives, and it's painful every time, is we have this aha moment, and then immediately afterwards, it's almost always followed by, I should have done this long ago.
It's funny, isn't it? Because it challenges the fundamentals that we've built something on. So I've got a perfect example for you. I took some new photos of myself in action to promote a workshop, so a vision board workshop, and I sent a couple of them, the ones that I was most pleased with, outdoors, sunny day, nice backdrop, smiling. I sent a couple of the ones that I liked the best to my coach, and she said, oh wow, you look really cute. And she said, is that the look you're going for? And I was like, absolutely not. No, I want to be kind of friendly, relatable, relaxed, informal, creative, imaginative, but cute is definitely not what I'm going for. And she just replied and put, I didn't think so, ... And I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Like, I can't change who I am. I can't change how I come across. Have I misgauged how I present myself? And it spirals you into not just challenging that one question, but challenging all the beliefs that your business and your persona are built on. But like you say, if you don't address those challenges, then I think you, in one way or another, do end up looking back and saying, do you know what? I see where that came from, or I see where someone who doesn't know me might make an assumption about my personality type. And it's doing the research, I guess, isn't it? And understanding, okay, what type of response do I get to these 5 different approaches, and finding the one that's not only authentic to you, but matches with the problem you're trying to solve, I guess.
That's definitely a part of it. And what I find is the more tricky part, because that's the rational part. That's the nice stuff. We all understand that, right? The tricky stuff I find is when you go to somebody and you say, hey, how many meetings do you guys have in a year? Oh, you have 200 meetings. Okay. And you hate your meetings because they're terrible. Okay. So the pain is real. There's 200 of these. How about we, for the next meeting, try and run it differently? No, we can't do that because we have to get stuff done and blah, blah, blah. Okay. How about we try to run 10 minutes of it differently? So we're now talking 10 minutes out of 200 in a year that everybody hates to begin with. You'd think that here people would be pretty open to anything. Yeah. Just for 10 minutes. And then they'll say, okay, we can do that. And then you say, good, we're going to try for the next meeting. We're going to take 10 minutes and you are going to only speak when you have the talking stick. Example. And then you'll have some people say, oh yeah, great, let's try it. After all, it's only 10 minutes. If we don't like it, we don't have to do it. You're not the boss of us, blah, 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 blah. Rational, 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 nice. But most people, including myself, right, what we go is it'll never work.
Yeah.
And I'm saying, okay, so it'll never work, but it will cost us 10 minutes out of 200 meetings in that year that you already hate to find out. Can we take a chance on those 10 minutes? No, it's a waste of time. And this is where it gets tricky, right? Because innovation happens at 2 points. One of my 5 pillars is challenging routines, and innovation happens at 2 points. It happens when we're desperate, and it happens when we feel abundance.
Yeah.
When we're great, right? Let's say we're in London together and I say, hey, Catherine, here is 10 pounds, and those 10 pounds, you need to get through the day on those 10 pounds. You need to pay for food. You need to pay for transport. If you're going to do shopping, it better be cheap. If you're going to go to a museum, I hope you take a free one. Don't worry, we leave the city at the end. Then you're going to be very, very careful about how you spend that money, because 10 pounds in London does not go far. If I give you 100 pounds, you're going to be a little bit more wasteful, but you're still not going to just blow it on weird stuff. If I give you 1,000 pounds, you're suddenly going to go to that restaurant where you want to buy the weird, what is it, the avocado sandwich or something like that you sometimes talk about.
The duck sandwich.
45 or 70 pounds. You're going to buy that because you've got 1,000. But you're still going to think about a little bit about, if I give you £1 million, you're going to go out into the street, you're going to see some poor person, and you're going to say, hey, how do you feel about £1,000? And they're going to go, oh my God, are you serious? You say, yeah, here's £1,000. Don't worry. Go have a good life. Spend it on interesting things. Oh, kids, your parents are crying because they can't afford the thing in Macy's. I'll buy it for you. Oh, hey, bus driver, what if I paid you £1,000? Can I sit next to you while you drive the bus? No safety problem. Just sit next to you because I've always dreamed of that. Yeah, sure. Right? Because you've got $1 million. You've got so much, you could just throw it away and it wouldn't even matter. Because after my silly examples, you're down to 997,000.
Yeah.
It's still a lot of money for one day in London. When we have abundance, we experiment. When we have abundance of time, abundance of resources, abundance of trust, abundance of everything. When we're desperate, we experiment because we have to.
Yeah.
Right? The Olympics are on right now as we're talking. We just had the European Football Cup. If you're ahead 4-0, you can make changes as the head coach. You can try the reserve goalkeeper. You can do something new. If you're down 4-0, you can also try the reserve goalkeeper or try something new. If it's 1-1, you're not going to move a single hair out of nervousness of something going wrong. And most of us, we're at 1-1 or maybe 2-1 or maybe 1-2. And that means we don't experiment because we're not desperate, and we don't experiment because we're not feeling abundance.
So should we, when we're at 1-1, is that the time where we should be building in constant innovation and change?
Yes, yes. And most of all, that's when I talk about innovation cultures, I don't talk about what you're going to do, right? Do you work with water, or do you have a marketing house, or whatever it is? Do you do guided tours in Verona in Italy? No, I talk about how you create a culture that makes sure you are constantly innovating, because there was a time when, especially in big companies, things were slow enough that you could have, okay, things are going wrong. Things are going well, right? We're operating. We're just managing. Things are fine. And then at some point, we get a little bit behind, or there's an opportunity, and then we innovate. And innovation had a start date and a stop date. It was something we did for a limited period of time, as opposed to running the business, which we do all the time. Now that's changed. The world is moving so fast that you have to both run your business and innovate in it and on it at the same time.
So here's a challenge for you then. Will AI allow us to innovate more because of how smart AI is, or will it allow us to innovate because it will take all the mundane automated tasks so we have time as human beings to innovate, or both?
Neither.
Okay.
So let's start with AI. You said something really nice. You said AI because it's so smart. And I know what I think you mean, but let's puncture what you actually said.
Okay.
Because AI is anything but smart. When we talk about AI, right now, a lot of us talk about generative AI. And the way generative AI works, for a lot of us, it's ChatGPT. It's like apps where you ask it to do a thing and it produces a picture, which is great, right? But how it works is like this. We're going to test. We're going to do a micro AI experiment here. Okay. I'm going to say a few words, and you're going to end the sentence for me with something that makes sense.
Okay.
I enjoy watching
Mayor of Kingstown on Netflix because it is gritty.
Excellent. Good. We're going to do it again. I enjoy watching, and now you answer something else.
My son playing football at the weekend.
Excellent. I enjoy watching
the sunset in the summer.
Perfect. You are now a generative AI.
Okay.
Because what happens is that there's a grab bag in there of things that make sense. You're not going to end the sentence with, I enjoy watching I enjoy watching die, 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 you scum. Right? Because it doesn't make sense. So you're grabbing from within what makes sense.
Yeah.
And that's exactly how generative AI works. However, because it does it so well, the grab bag is so big and so good and it does it so well and so fast, it feels like it's intelligent, but it's not. It's not making choices. It's a grab bag, but it's a grab bag where before you stick your hand in, you don't just stick your hand in and choose something. You don't just stick your hand in and choose something purple. You stick your hand in and say, I'm going to reach for something purple that's oblong and slightly soft and reminds me of my grandmother on a sunny day and also is culturally appropriate. Plus, here's what I had for breakfast. And then you're going to get out of that grab bag, you're going to get something that makes sense.
Yeah.
And that means that if you use generative AI, what most of us call AI, for, there. If you use generative AI for that sort of thing, then you're going to get very, very good results, right? It's brilliant for give me 50 ideas, because the grab bag has unlimited ideas.
Yeah.
It's infinite, right? Because the grab bag is so good. Just like if I said, Catherine, give me 50 ideas for book titles, your grab bag is also infinite. What happens here is at some point I get tired of it and you get tired with me very fast. So using it for stuff that is give me an idea or give me an example or give me a thing, and then I can choose if I like it. Their generative AI is brilliant. Show me a picture of a walrus. Okay, I didn't like that one. Show me another picture of it. Oh, I didn't. Oh, show me. Okay, the third one I like. Bingo, we've now got our logo. For that, it's brilliant. There is basically nothing at the moment that can match that. Humans certainly can't, because we're impatient. The grab bag isn't that deep, and we ask all sorts of questions. What kind of walrus do you want? What do you want the walrus to say? Yeah. What are you thinking when you say walrus? What about this? And on the other hand, humans are smart because they make decisions. They think. AI, as we know it right now, doesn't, but its grab bag is so good that it seems like it. So does it make it more efficient? Does it make it better with these things? Yes, but not necessarily the way we sometimes talk about it. Yeah. It makes things like give me a program idea 1,000 times easier.
So right? Is the other thing that AI helps with is cutting out the human assumption that something can't work. So if you say, show me a picture of a walrus wearing a hat speaking in French, the human would say, well, walruses don't wear hats and they don't speak. And we cut off innovation because of our confines of our beliefs, but AI will explore everything. Is that a good thing?
Yes, because it doesn't think. A human thinks.
Yeah.
If I say, Catherine, please create for me. Yeah, if I say, Catherine, please create for me 5,000 book titles that I can choose from for my new book, my working title is The Book Without a Title, a book about book titles. And you say, Klaus, 5,000? Really? Like, do you realize how long time it would take me to make that list? Do you realize how long time it would take you to read that list? It becomes meaningless. Your brain can't store it. Like, you have all these rational, good human reasons because you're human. And then if I say, and I want you not to send it to me as an Excel file, but to send it to me in videos recorded on a smartphone, reduced to black and white, set to World War II Russian military music, and you perform each title as interpretive dance. Right? The amount of what really? I hope you pay me by the hour comments you're going to have are pretty big. The AI is going to say, okay, here, Catherine and Klaus, here are 5,000 book titles. Here is videos in interpretive dance. By the way, I pretended to be a walrus just for fun because you wrote about walruses before. I thought you might enjoy that. Right? And that means if we use it that way, it is insane. Because it allows us to generate ideas at a level we don't do ourselves because we stop ourselves. You said it, you were bang on, right? If you say, how are 20 ways that you could see my career crashing tomorrow? Then it's going to come up with 20 ways. If you ask your husband, how are 20 ways? He's going to say, but it won't.
Yeah.
Should I be worried? Oh my God. And then even if you say, no, just do it for thought exercise, after 4, he's going to be struggling.
I'm bored.
And bored, and going to think, Catherine, you're really a bit too much into this career crash exercise. How about I make you some tea instead?
Yeah, you're spot on. I could talk to you all afternoon about AI and the pros and cons, but I'm going to deviate slightly into other things that would make your life easier. So if you had an inventor in your pocket and you could come up with a genius solution for a problem you have in your day-to-day personal professional life, what would it be?
That's a tricky one.
Don't
because
tell
I have
me,
so
don't tell.
many.
Oh, right. I thought you were going to go the opposite way. I thought you were going to say, do you know what? No, everything's fine.
No, I wish it was. No, no. And then I could make up problems. I'm just thinking, which one would I prefer to get solved that would really make a huge difference and is also at least somewhat realistic? I think one of the things for me as an entrepreneur and as kind of a self-made man, and I think this goes for a lot of us out there, is having somebody who asks me every morning, hey, how's it going with the thing?
Yeah.
Is there anything you need to talk about? Having the same person at the end of the day say, hey, how's it going with the thing? Is there anything you need to, right? Having that so I don't always have to be that person to myself.
Yeah, yeah.
And
That would
having
be
that for
amazing.
somebody who is not annoyed at me, somebody who doesn't judge me, who just asks neutrally, hey, for the 8th day in the row, hey, the thing you said in the morning that was really important and you were going to fix, did you do it? And then when I say, no, I didn't do it today either, then instead of saying, you slob, you idiot, you procrastinator, you terrible failure of a human being, say, great, I hope you had a lovely day. I'll ask again tomorrow. I think as an entrepreneur, that's one of the hardest things. And I'm pretty good at it, right? I'm pretty self-driving. I'm pretty persistent. But it's tough. If I could solve that, if I could get that, not in an automated way, because I've tried that, it's too easy to shut off. But as a human whose opinion I cared about, who didn't judge me, that would be magical.
We need to go back to childhood process, don't we? Do you remember at primary school, or especially if you moved to a new school, you were given a buddy? And there was also a buddy bench that you could go and sit on if you were a bit lonely. And that buddy would be responsible for hanging out with you and making sure you knew where to go for dinner and like what to do when the bell rang. And we need something like that, don't we, in our professional lives, where that person checks in with us at various points during the day and says, how is that thing going? Like you said, it's like, it makes me think back to the Tamagotchis in the 80s and how you cared for that Tamagotchi. We need someone to do that for us.
We do, and there's a thing I do when I teach fundraising, which I've done on and off for 20 years. And fundraising applications, the first thing I tell people is, if you write a piece of paper and write it in ugly handwriting and it says, please give us money, and then just slip it under a door, you're now in the top 5% of fundraisers because you actually sent out an application. Now, they still don't know your name. They don't know what the project is. They don't know what money you want, but you're still in the top 5%. And one of the ways I found to get out of that in my workshops was I would pair people and I would say, instead of write your project description, I would have a set of questions, very simple, very basic questions. What are you trying to do? How much money do you need? What does it help? Who are you? Blah, blah, blah. And then one person would interview the other and write down, because it turns out that most of us know that I could write this on my own, right? I could write my own project description, but I never get it done. But the moment I have somebody interviewing me, then I just have to answer, and that person writes, and then afterwards we flip the script, and I'm the one writing and asking, and the questions are already there. And suddenly 2 project descriptions appear, where if you sat people down next to each other and said, spend the next 30 minutes writing it, some would do it and some would stop halfway and some would never even start. So that Tamagotchi factor is crazy important, and yet most of us don't have systems in place for how to do that.
Well, when you solve this one, tell me, because I'm going to be first in line for my own personal accountability buddy, that's for sure. One final question for you, Claus. If you could meet and have lunch with anybody, who would it be and where would you go?
Oh, anybody. It would be Rory Sutherland.
Okay.
Rory Sutherland, who is this British, I want to say 50s or so guy. He's an advertising legend. He's a behavioral economics guy. He's a brilliant, funny speaker. I recommend his talks to anyone. He's very, very productive. So there's a lot of his stuff out there if you want to search. Rory Sutherland from Ogilvy is his name.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And we would be at a place of his choosing where they had whiskey on the menu, because he's always complaining about saying in behavioral economics, once they ask you red or white, it's game over for the liquor drinkers.
Yeah. So a whiskey bar with Rory talking about his career, his opinions, his interests, his
Now, talking about me, of course. No, actually, I would be curious about him.
Yeah, you definitely have to encourage him to ask some questions. You'd have to turn up in your Batman suit and then the questions would start flowing from there. I am absolutely sure.
I think actually the first question would probably be, Klaus, weren't you one of the team that sent me a model railroad 8 years ago to try to get me to be at your College of Extraordinary Experience as the first headmaster, and that's how you got through our screening, by being creative? And
I
I'd say,
mean,
yeah, nice memory.
that sounds like a brilliant story in itself, and one for next time for sure, because I am a massive advocate of lumpy mail, and that sounds like the epitome of lumpy mail to me.
That's for next time.
Thank you so much, Klaus. Do you want to sign off by just giving a very quick mention for the College of Extraordinary Experiences?
I can do that. Thank you for giving me that opportunity. It's called the College of Extraordinary Experiences. The website is extraordinary.college. And if you feel you need more info, well, you're probably not going to get it. But if your curiosity is piqued, then you're in a good place.
Amazing. I love ending on a cliffhanger. It's been so good to talk to you again today, Klaus. I really appreciate it. And hopefully we'll have the chance to catch up in person somewhere soon.
Definitely. Thanks for the time.
See you soon.